Jimmy Carter National Historic Site in Plains, Georgia. Plains High School in Plains, Georgia, was built in 1921. It was a school for first grade through 11th grade with one homeroom per grade level. This school is where a future president and first lady of the United States would begin first grade and graduate from high school. Jimmy Carter was born October 1st, 1924 in Plains, Georgia. His father, Earl Carter, was a businessman, farmer, and in 1953 served as a Georgia state representative. His mother, Lillian Carter, was a registered nurse and worked at Wise Sanitarium in Plains. The Carters first lived in the small town of Plains, but in 1928 they purchased a farm and moved 3 miles outside of Plains. Jimmy was the oldest child in the Carter family, followed by Gloria, Ruth, and Billy. Rosalynn Smith was born August 18, 1927, and lived in the town of Plains. Her father, Edgar Smith, drove a school bus, owned an auto repair shop, and farmed. After graduating from college with a teacher's diploma, her mother, Allie, married Edgar Smith. Rosalynn was the oldest child, followed by Jerry, Murray, and Alethea. When Rosalynn was 13 years old, her father died of leukemia. It was a hard time for the Smith family. Her mother looked for ways to make money to pay the bills. She took in sewing and sold the extra milk from their cow. Rosalynn's mother also worked in the school lunchroom until she accepted a job in the town's post office. Jimmy Carter started school at Plains High School in 1930, and Rosalynn Smith entered first grade at this school 3 years later in 1933. The education they received at this school played an important role in their lives, preparing them for public service in this community, Georgia, the United States, and the world. In the 1930s, the school day began with students marching into the auditorium for the morning assembly. Announcements were made, songs were sung, and sometimes students would go on stage and present special plays. Afterwards, the students would go with the homeroom teacher to their classroom to begin their lessons. Some of the subjects students studied included English, arithmetic, science, social studies, spelling, music, and health. One of the people who influenced President and Mrs. Carter was Julia Coleman. She served as a teacher, the principal, and later the superintendent of the school. Miss Julia encouraged her students to study hard, telling them that one of them could become president one day. Little did anyone know that one day Jimmy Carter would become our 39th president of the United States, and Rosalynn Smith would be the first lady. President Carter felt Miss Julia's impact so strongly that he talked about her in his inauguration speech in 1977 and quoted her.
As my high school teacher, Miss Julia Coleman, used to say, we must adjust to changing times and still hold to unchanging principles.
At the end of the school day, Rosalynn would walk home and have chores waiting for her: churning butter, sweeping, washing and drying dishes, and helping look after her younger siblings. When chores were finished, she liked to read. The Carter children rode the school bus home. There were many chores waiting for them at the end of the school day. While boys worked outside on the farm taking care of the animals and working in the fields, the girls helped with the household chores. Some chores could include churning butter, picking vegetables from the garden and then preparing them to be cooked. Girls also learned how to sew and mend clothes. The lifestyle on the farm was different than living in town. Farm homes, like the Carters, did not have electricity or running water until the late 1930s. The Carters' home had a hand pump on the back porch, which provided water for cooking, drinking, and cleaning. The wood-burning stove in the kitchen was used to cook all the meals for the family. With no indoor plumbing for a bathroom, the family had an outhouse, which was located in the backyard. When Jimmy was not working on the farm, reading, or playing with his friends, you could find him at Jack and Rachel Clark's house. Rachel and Jack Clark were a hard-working couple and were respected by people in the archery community. When the Carters were out of town, young Jimmy often spent the night at the Clarks' house. He slept on a corn shuck mat on the floor in their living room. Young Jimmy liked to go hunting with Jack and fishing in the creek with Rachel. He felt right at home with Rachel and Jack. The Clarks were two of the people that he most admired and who helped shape his life. At the young age of 8, Jimmy Carter decided he wanted to be in the Navy, like his uncle, Tom Gordy. After graduating from Plains High School in 1941, Jimmy Carter attended college until he received an appointment to the Naval Academy and began his military career. On one of his trips back home to visit the family, he began dating Rosalynn Smith. In 1946, they were married at Plains Methodist Church. Jimmy and Rosalynn Carter lived in a number of states as he achieved his dream of being a naval officer and working on nuclear submarines. Jimmy Carter had a promising career as a naval officer. However, in 1953, upon the death of his father, he chose to leave the Navy and return to Plains to run the family business. Like his father, Jimmy Carter was committed to improving the lives of his family, friends, and neighbors. He first began by working to improve his hometown of Plains. He became involved with local organizations and served as a Sumter County School Board member. Local politics led to a decision to run for the Georgia State Senate. After winning this election, he worked on local and state issues. Jimmy Carter then ran for governor. He lost the election, but decided to try again and was elected as governor the second time he ran. As governor of Georgia, he focused on making changes to improve the operation of the state government and worked to provide a good education for all students. As a one-term governor, he announced in 1974 that he would run for the President of the United States. He was not well known outside of Georgia, and many people asked, "Jimmy who?" Family and friends traveled across the United States, talking to voters and asking them to vote for their friend and neighbor, Jimmy Carter. Our country was facing a difficult time during these campaign days due to the Vietnam War and the Watergate scandal. Candidate Carter was seen as an honest, hardworking farmer and businessman. In 1976, Jimmy Carter was elected as our 39th president and served one term. He focused on improving international relationships, peace in the Middle East, stewardship, conservation, and developing alternative energy sources. In 1981, after losing his re-election bid to Ronald Reagan, the Carters returned to Plains. This was a time of readjusting and making decisions about what they wanted to do. The Carter family business had not been run properly during the 4 years he was in Washington. The business was struggling, so a decision was made to sell the family business. After returning to Plains in 1981, Jimmy and Rosalynn Carter signed with publishing companies and began to write books about their life and political career. After serving our country as President and First Lady, the Carters felt there were things they could do to help others. In 1982, the Carters formed the Carter Center, which is a nonprofit organization located in Atlanta, focused on building hope around the world. The Carter Center and its partners have helped to resolve conflict, strengthen democracy, protect human rights, and prevent diseases in more than 70 nations. Due to the impact of the mission of the Carter Center, President Carter was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize in 2002 in Oslo, Norway. You can see the Nobel Peace Prize on display in Atlanta, at the Jimmy Carter Library and Museum, and at the Jimmy Carter National Historic Site in Plains, Georgia. In addition to the Carter Center, Rosalynn Carter established the Rosalynn Carter Institute for Caregiving, which works with mental illness and caregiving issues worldwide. Jimmy and Rosalynn Carter have dedicated countless hours serving their community, state, and country. Each step of your life prepares you for the future. Many events and people will shape your life. We challenge each of you to be productive citizens for your community, state, country, and the world. Who knows? One day, one of you may be President of the United States of America. This video was made possible by the National Park Service.